Welcome to Man in Progress, Forging Manhood. I'm Travis Murray, values coach and your guide to building a life driven by real values. Each week we explore what it means to be a man today, talk about and to thinkers and doers who've been through it, and give you steps to show up better for yourself and those you love. If you're ready to forge your own path, you're in the right place. Let's get to it. The weight you've been carrying isn't what you think it is. It isn't the mortgage or diaper bag or stack of emails waiting on your laptop. The real weight lives in your chest, a dense mass that hardens into whatever value you cling to most. Maybe it's comfort. Maybe it's control. Maybe it's connection. Today, we step back into the fire to find out. By the end of this episode, you will have two words you can hold on to, values that either lift you or drag you. We're not going to build anything just yet. We're going to look at the raw material, call it what it is, and ask if it deserves to shape your path. Welcome back. Season 2 of Man in Progress, Forging Manhood begins not with a roar, but with a breath. If last season was about learning to recognize the tools at your disposal, courage, loyalty, truth, sacrifice, rest, brotherhood, and resilience, then this season is about what you're shaping with those tools. Before you can sculpt your life into something beautiful, you have to know what material you're working with. You can't build without raw material. You can't live with integrity without clear values. 6 months ago, I was a man wandering between identities. I was a husband and a father, but I couldn't tell you what drove me. I had replaced growth with comfort and food and clocked in at over 320 pounds. I had stepped away from what felt familiar because I wanted to build something that fed my soul and allowed me to be present for my family. I pursued different paths that promised freedom and purpose, but each one left me more confused and depleted. I spent thousands of dollars on courses, coaching, and equipment, hoping to craft a new life, yet my bank account shrank and my confidence with it. I cherished honesty, never wanting to manipulate or coerce anyone, but I had no framework to prioritize that when money got tight. I loved connecting with people, but I had no compass to direct that desire. I knew I was honorable and kind, yet somehow my life was being steered by habits and fears instead of values. Then my coach asked me a question I couldn't answer. What are your values? I froze. I could talk about being a good man, loving my family, building something meaningful, but I couldn't name the core convictions driving my choices. When I looked closely, I realized I valued comfort more than growth, and I valued the safety of being unseen more than the risk of being known. I loved connecting with people, but often at the expense of my own well being. I cherished honesty, never wanting to manipulate or coerce anyone, but I had no framework to prioritize that when money got tight. That question sent me into research mode. I read books, listened to podcasts, journaled until my hand cramped. I found lists of values that felt generic and corporate. I went down spiritual rabbit holes. I turned inward and outward until finally, in the quiet of an early morning, a few words surfaced. Those words became my first foundation. They hurt because they forced me to admit what I had been sacrificing to protect them. They healed because they gave me something to stand on when everything else was shaky at best. Season 2 is born from that moment. This episode is the beginning of a journey to identify your values. Not mine, not your buddies, yours. Over the next months, we'll continue exploring what drives us and learn to live by those values. We'll confront the masks we wear and the excuses we make. We'll laugh at ourselves, we'll cry, we'll rest. But before any of that, today we pause. We pick up that question, what are your values? And we stare at it until it stares back. We're going to take you through a process of identifying at least one positive value and one negative value. We're not calling them good or bad because values are neutral until you look at what they cost you. Comfort can be nourishment or avoidance. Control can be stewardship or fear. Humor can be connection or deflection. You're going to leave this conversation with clarity so you can stop drifting and start shaping. Let's start by demystifying values. A value is not a goal. A goal is a destination. Lose 20 pounds, start a business, read 30 books. A value is the compass that orients you as you move toward those destinations. It's the principle you're unwilling to sacrifice even when your goal is in jeopardy. If courage is a value, you'll tell the truth even if it costs you a promotion. If comfort is a value, you'll avoid telling the truth because keeping the peace feels safer. Values are revealed by what you're willing to endure and what you're willing to abandon. They're shaped in the small decisions you make when no one is watching. There are positive values, principles that align you with growth, integrity, and love, and there are negative values, convictions that keep you small, comfortable, and hidden. It's tempting to think only saints have values and sinners have vices. But every man builds his life on values whether he's conscious of it or not. For years I believed I valued freedom. I arranged my days so I could be present at home and pursued different paths that promised purpose and autonomy. But when my coach dug deeper, I realized I valued comfort. Freedom was a dream. Comfort was my compass. That value wasn't inherently evil. After all, comfort can be rest, healing, Sabbath. But my comfort was avoidance. I used to justify overeating, skipping the gym, saying no to opportunities that scared me. That's why we call some values negative, not because they're morally wrong, but because they limit you when they're unexamined. So, how do you identify your values? Well, this isn't therapy. I'm not licensed, and we're not going to be digging up trauma to analyze it. We're simply going to sit quietly with ourselves and answer a few questions. If you're driving, listen and reflect. If you're at home, grab a pen and paper. If you're on the run, let the questions bounce around your head until one sticks, and keep that focus on your run. Think about a time in the last year when you felt genuinely proud. Not Instagram proud, but deep in your bones proud. Maybe you stayed calm when your toddler threw a tantrum. Maybe you spoke up when your boss dismissed someone. Maybe you turned down a quick buck because it didn't feel right. Write down what made you proud. Then ask yourself, what value was I honoring in that moment? Was it patience, justice, integrity, service, love? The answer might surprise you. Often the things that make us proud aren't the flashy achievements, but the times we aligned with our deeper values. Think of a time you acted in a way that made you feel less than or gross. Maybe you lied to avoid conflict, scrolled your phone while your child asked you for attention, accepted a job you didn't want because you were afraid of disappointing someone. Ask yourself, what value was I betraying? Did you betray honesty, presence, courage? Did comfort or fear take precedence? Don't beat yourself up. You're not writing a confession, you're mining for clues. Regret is a sign you violated a value you care about. Look at your calendar and your bank account. Where you spend money and time reveals your values. If you work 60 hours a week, maybe you value providing. If you spend most evenings gaming, maybe you value escapism. If you tithe, maybe you value generosity. If you invest in learning, maybe you value growth. If you constantly bail on commitments, maybe you value independence, or maybe you fear letting others down, so you avoid being needed. Don't judge yourself. Just observe. Your schedule quietly shapes your priorities. Ask someone who knows you. Sometimes we are blind to ourselves. Ask a trusted person. When do you see me come alive? When do you see me shrink? Listen without defensiveness. Outside perspective is a mirror we often avoid because we're afraid of what we'll see. But the work is deeper in community. We sharpen one another and help each other name the patterns we miss. Name what you admire in others. Who do you respect and why? The traits you admire reveal your aspirational values. If you're drawn to men who speak their mind even when it's unpopular, you probably value courage. If you respect those who serve quietly behind the scenes, you value humility. Your heroes are hints to your heart. These questions aren't a test. There are no right answers. There is just honesty, which itself is a value. You might notice several themes surfacing. Circle the words that keep repeating. Narrow them down to 3 or 4. Then, from those, Pick one positive value you want to nurture and one negative value you want to understand. Maybe your positive value is loyalty. You'll show up for people no matter what. Your negative value might be comfort. You avoid conflict, risk, and hard conversations. Holding both values side by side isn't hypocrisy, it's integrity. Integrity means wholeness. You can't be whole if you only acknowledge the parts of yourself that look good on a resume. Self reflection doesn't condemn you, it refines you. A little note on negative values. It might feel strange to name something like comfort, control, or approval seeking as a value, but naming it doesn't mean you're endorsing it. It means you're taking ownership. Unexamined values run your life from the shadows. Examined values can be repositioned. When I named comfort as a core value, I saw how often I chose comfort over growth. Skipping workouts, staying silent, eating junk, avoiding tough business conversations, avoiding people. Naming it allowed me to choose differently. Sometimes comfort was appropriate. After a long day, rest was necessary. But other times, comfort was sabotage. By identifying comfort, I could ask, is this truly rest or is this avoidance? Without that question, I'd default to the couch every time, bringing humor and hope. We're men. We can get heavy fast. And I don't mean weight, I mean deep conversation. We talk about values and suddenly feel like we're in a philosophy seminar. Let's lighten it up. If you've ever said, my family is my top priority, while scrolling TikTok for an hour on the couch while your kids ask you to play, you know the gap between stated values and lived values is hilarious and heartbreaking. If you've said, I value honesty, but told your buddy his singing didn't make your ears bleed, when it definitely did, you're human. Laughter is a release valve. Humor doesn't trivialize our work, it reveals the pressure so we can stay engaged without burning out. So when you catch yourself identifying discipline as a core value while eating a pint of ice cream, laugh. Don't shame yourself. Humor keeps you humble, and humility is fertile ground for change. In the show notes for this episode, you'll find a link to my website where you can download a free PDF. It's a comprehensive list of roughly 200 values with short descriptions that I created so you don't have to Google what are values and end up with bland corporate posters. The thing is, with this, there's a lot. I don't expect you to read the entire thing. All I want you to do is just skim it, right? Highlight the words that speak to you and spark something in you. Ignore the ones that feel dead. You'll also see a few reflection prompts and maybe like a journaling exercise, like questions along with the values description. If you're serious about shaping your life, take 15 minutes to go download the PDF. Circle a few words and answer the questions. It costs you nothing but time and honesty. In return, you get clarity. And clarity is priceless when you're under fire. Let's do a mini reflection session right now. Get comfortable but alert. If you can pause the audio after each question and jot down your thoughts, do so. If you can't, let the answers float up and capture them later. Step 1. Pride. Think of a moment when you felt proud this week. Maybe you stuck to your workout plan. Maybe you listened to your teenager without interrupting. Maybe you made time for someone you love even though you were tired. What value were you honoring? Write it down. Step 2. Regret. Think of a moment when you felt off. Maybe you snapped at your child, lied to your friend, or ghosted on a commitment. What value did you betray? Write it down. Step 3. Patterns. Look at these two values. Do they repeat in other areas of your life? Is patience something you value or avoid? Is honesty a pattern when you're comfortable and absent when you're anxious? Circle themes. Step 4. Choose. Pick one value that feels life-giving. This is your positive value. Pick one value that feels restrictive. This is your negative value. Maybe your positive value is integrity, and maybe your negative value is comfort. Maybe your positive value is connection, and your negative value is approval seeking. There are no bad choices, only clarity. Step 5. Describe. Write a sentence describing each value and why it matters. For example, integrity means I tell the truth even when it costs me because I want to be a man my children can trust. Or comfort means I avoid risk and growth because I fear failure and judgment. The clearer you are, the more power you have to choose differently. Step 6, practice. For the next week, whenever you make a decision, ask, which value am I serving? When you choose to watch Netflix instead of reading to your son, you might notice comfort at work. When you choose to confront a coworker respectfully, you might notice courage. The goal isn't to shame yourself, of course, it's to bring consciousness to your decisions. Awareness is the first step. You might find this uncomfortable. Good. Discomfort is your inner signal telling you this matters. Sit in it. Don't bolt from it. You're not alone. I'm sitting here on the other side of this microphone doing the same work. I'm still tempted to choose comfort. I still fear failure. I still default to ease. But now I can name it. And naming it gives me power. Values aren't static, they can shift as you grow. Maybe comfort will evolve into rest, which is healthy and intentional. Maybe control will transform into discipline. Maybe approval seeking will turn into empathy. Time and attention transform values. Everything we do on this podcast ties back to the idea of shaping yourself. When I use the word forge, I'm not talking about working with metal. I'm talking about the process of shaping something strong and true under pressure. Last season, we explored how to tend the inner fire of self awareness, how to withstand discomfort, and how to rest and reflect at the right time. This season, we're asking, what are you shaping? The values you choose matter. Choose the wrong value and your life fractures under pressure. But the beauty of this metaphor is that you can always re examine, rework, and refine. Identifying your values is like sorting through a pile of beliefs and habits and deciding which ones deserve your attention. Some feel brittle. These might be your negative values, like comfort as avoidance, control as fear, or approval as addiction. Others feel solid. These are your positive values, like honesty, courage, loyalty, and compassion. Nothing is wasted. Even the patterns you want to change teach you something about who you're becoming. Let me tell you a story. When I first began this work, I was impatient. I wanted to change everything overnight. I'd read a book, listen to a podcast, and then try to overhaul my life in a week. The changes never stuck. I'd get discouraged and tell myself I wasn't cut out for this. A mentor once told me, you can't rush transformation. Awareness takes time. Identifying your values is the same. You can't rush it. Sometimes you'll think you know what you value, and then life will reveal another layer. That's okay. Go slow. Let reflection penetrate. Don't rush to act. And don't beat yourself up, especially when you see flaws in the work. Because this work isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Here's another story. When I was 22, I valued being liked. I'd drive across town to help friends move on short notice because I wanted them to like me. I'd laugh at jokes I didn't find funny. I'd say yes to every request. People called me dependable. Inside, I was exhausted and resentful. My value wasn't compassion, it was approval. It cost me my energy and authenticity. I eventually learned to discern between compassion, showing up because love compels me, and approval seeking, showing up because fear drives me. Naming the values underneath those actions allowed me to say yes from a full heart instead of an empty one. That's the power of this work. It liberates you from living a life scripted by fear and opens you to a life shaped by conviction. Values become real when they meet real life. You might say you value family but stay late at work every night. You might say you value health but never move your body. You might say you value faith but never pray unless you're panicked. The point isn't to judge. It's to align your actions with your words. For me, identifying honesty as a core value changed how I offered my skills. I once entered a new industry because it promised easy money and looked like a quick path to freedom. After digging deeper, I realized that most of the money went to middlemen and the people I would be serving were the ones paying the price. I couldn't look anyone in the eye and say, this is fair. If I participated in something that exploited them, walking away hurt financially, but it freed my spirituality. Identifying integrity as a value changed how I approached my weight. I could no longer pretend I valued health while treating my body like a garbage disposal. That realization didn't lead to a crash diet. It led to small, consistent changes. Water in the morning, walking after dinner, journaling about why I ate when I wasn't hungry. Over time, those changes shaped a little bit healthier body and a healthier mind. If honesty and integrity matter to your decisions, will if honesty and integrity matter to you, your decisions will reflect them. Not perfectly, but progressively. That's why we're not going to give you a 5 step plan to build values. We're going to give you a lens. When you know your values, every choice becomes an opportunity to practice them. You don't have to do this alone. Last season, we talked about brotherhood, about having at least one or two other people know your rough edges and refuse to let you stay dull. This could be a wife or a friend. Identifying values is richer in community. Share your positive and negative value with your spouse or a trusted friend. Ask them to hold you accountable when you drift. Invite them to identify theirs. This isn't about policing each other, it's about standing in the heat together. The work is easier and safer when there are hands to help you and eyes to watch for sparks. Men often think we have to figure this out in isolation. That's another negative value. Independence as a defense mechanism. The truth is, we're shaped in community. We sharpen one another. We name each other's strengths. We laugh at each other's blind spots. We remind each other that we are not broken, we are in progress. So, where do you go from here? Well, today we've started the process of identifying your values. In our next episode, we'll continue this journey, not by rushing into building new values or launching into elaborate rituals, but by paying attention to what is already present. We'll explore how to see your values in real time, how to recognize the trade offs you make, and how to let those insights guide your decisions. We're not skipping ahead. If you don't know what you're shaping, no amount of effort will ever help. The ventures I tried to build collapsed because I didn't know what I valued. My health suffered because I valued comfort more than stewardship. Clarity isn't glamorous, it's quiet. It comes with a cost, honesty, but it also comes with a gift, purpose. Here's your invitation, your benediction, or your challenge. Find a moment this week, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow morning, when you can sit with a pen and paper, download the values PDF, read through the list, circle 3 words that resonate, ask the questions we outlined, identify one positive value you might be honoring, and one negative value you want to transform. Write a sentence about each, then tell someone. Share it with someone you trust, your partner, a friend, a brother, or me. Don't make it complicated. I value integrity, and I've been betraying it by lying about small things. I value comfort, and it's keeping me from pursuing my health. That's it. Next, we practice noticing your values in real time. When you reach for your phone at dinner, ask yourself, am I valuing connection or comfort? When you skip the gym, ask, is this rest or avoidance? When you say yes to a project, ask, is this courage or approval seeking? These questions are your tools. The answers are the insights. Don't beat yourself up, though. This is a gentle process. You're learning to see, not to shame. And finally, remember why you're doing this. We're not chasing perfection here. We're chasing alignment. We're not building a brand, we're building souls. We're not performing masculinity, we're shaping manhood. The world doesn't need more loud alphas or silent martyrs. It needs more men who know what they stand for and live it with humility, humor, and heart. It needs fathers who put down their phones to play with their kids. It needs husbands who tell the truth, even when it risks an argument. It needs brothers who laugh at the ridiculousness of life and cry at its beauty. It needs you, whole, aware, and present. Ask yourself tonight, would the younger me be proud of the man I am right now? Not because of my achievements, but because of my alignment. Would he see someone who values courage and lives it? Would he see someone who values comfort and hides? If the answer is hurt, good. Discomfort means something is shifting. That pain is the old habits releasing impurities. Stay with it. Don't run. The next 30 minutes of your life after this episode will be your practice session. The choice you make next, whether you pick up the remote or the journal, will tell you something about yourself. Pay attention. Smile because you're not broken. You're in progress. You're a man in progress. And progress starts with the simplest of things: a word written on paper, a value named, a weight acknowledged, a decision made. We'll meet again soon. And until then, stay present, laugh often, and keep shaping your life. You're not late. You're not broken. You are a man in progress.